Zooey mama, Sonic Generations really is my favorite game ever made ever. I just wish that it wasn't tied to a home console or a PC, and I could play it when I'm out and about, preferably on a handheld gaming device. Wait, what's this? Sonic Generations on a handheld gaming device? Don't look at that, don't look at that, don't look at that, don't look at that. Growing up, Sonic Generations was a monumental game in my early life. It broke boundaries, shattered expectations, and quickly rose to be one of my favorite games of all time. And that sentiment remains to this day. Its release marked the day that the series transitioned from being just another thing I liked to, That said though, I'm talking about the HD version of the game, released originally on the Xbox 360, PS3, and PC, and later more modern systems as part of Sonic X Shadow Generations, which is kind of the only version of the game you can still find these days. However, it wasn't that simple. Once upon a time, there existed a completely separate, standalone version of Generations, with different levels, different gameplay, a kind of different story, and a completely different development team made exclusively for handheld play. Sounds cool, right? It actually is kind of cool. I just wanted to be all angsty and silly, you know, as a treat. Releasing in 2011 alongside the main version of the game, the Nintendo 3DS version of Sonic Generations is a radically different adventure developed by Dimps, the guys that made the Sonic Advance games, the Sonic Rush games, the Wii and PS2 versions of Unleashed, the DS version of Colors, the 3DS version of Lost World, and Sonic 4? Sonic 4? Never heard of it. From the 2000s to the early 2010s, Dimps were pretty synonymous with being the other guys that made Sonic games when Sonic Team were busy doing the big boy ones. I don't know if I'd go as far to call them the B Team, but there was a phase there where if a Sonic game was coming out on both console and handheld systems or on different hardware generations, at least one of those would be handled by Dimps. This, of course, included Sonic Generations, the franchise's big 20th anniversary birthday bash celebrating the entire history of Sonic. Man, oh man, when I was but a small child, this was a really cool concept. What if the console versions of Generations celebrated the series from the perspective of its main, big home console releases, and the handheld version focused on Sonic's handheld outings? Yeah, I'm pretty smart. Literally. I look back and remember this game fondly, others not so much. Some people didn't even know it existed, or try to cover it up with the HD version, like, I don't know, wearing a hat over a bad haircut. What? Some people went as far to swear off Dimps and the handheld entries altogether, starting with the DS version of Colors. I never had a problem with Dimps compared to Sonic Team personally. Some fans saw it as a weird binary one or the other thing. I mean, it was the quote-unquote dark age of Sonic, with the franchise experimenting a lot and struggling to recover its reputation after 06, but I never really understood why people thought you could only have the console versions or only have the handheld versions. Like, we're getting a lot of stuff. Waiter, my steak is too juicy and my lobster is too buttery. I got my original copy sometime just after the holiday season of 2011. I'd been playing the Xbox 360 version of Generations almost literally non-stop since Christmas Day that year, and if I remember right, we were hosting some kind of party, and a family friend gifted me a copy of Super Mario 3D Land and Sonic Generations for the 3DS. And I liked it, so much so that I traded it in at some point, and then picked up a digital copy at some point. And then recently, when I was in the UK, picked up another physical copy. I don't quite remember how long it took me to finish the game, but it's not particularly lengthy. The same can be said for the HD version, but that has a few more levels and a few mandatory side missions, so it runs for a bit longer. But I do remember reading a lot of complaints online that the game could be finished in about 2 hours, which, yeah, it's certainly one of the bigger complaints about this version of the game, and I can definitely see where people are coming from. If this was your only way of playing Generations, then 100% that's an issue, but I see it as a nice, I don't know, companion piece to its fully fledged HD console big brother. So everyone, sit back, relax, and allow me to recount you the tale of Sonic Generations on the 3DS. I mean, that's like what the whole video's about. Booting into the game, we've got a few different options here. It's not quite the charming title screen of the console counterpart, but there's things like a mission mode and a collection fully accessible from the main menu, which I think is pretty neat. Starting the game, we're immediately thrown into Green Hill Act 1 as classic Sonic. Yeah, If you're unfamiliar with Sonic Generations or the Sonic franchise kinda since then, Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic are treated as two separate characters. Classic is a younger version of Modern, except for Sonic Forces where he's from a different dimension, but yeah. Sometime in the timeline around Sonic Adventure, he went from that to this. Don't think about it too hard. Green Hill Act 1, it's good, it's solid. It's so good, in fact, that it feels almost like a one-to-one recreation of the original Green Hill Act 1 from Sonic 1. Wait a second. Yeah, for the first few levels of this game, the classic Sonic portions are ripped directly from their game of origin. I can see arguments both for and against this, and I'm in the camp of it probably would have been better to have original level design, especially in a game this short. It controls fine. There are some people that are really particular about the way classic Sonic controls, and I think while not perfect, for the time, it's fine. After clearing the level, we're treated to a cutscene, and our expectations for the rest of the game are sufficiently set. The story of the console generations is serviceable, like it does the job, gets you from point A to point B, regardless of if we're talking the original or the rewrites from 2024, but for the most part, they were nice little in-engine scenes that broke up the gameplay a bit and let you see some characters interacting with each other. Naturally, the 3DS version does not run on the same engine, so its cutscenes are different and, The cutscenes certainly aren't this game's strong suit. They take a page out of Sonic Rush's book, being text boxes with models striking different poses. However, with the jump from the DS to the 3DS, they're left looking a little bland. While we're on the topic of cutscenes and story, this game doesn't feature any of Sonic's friends barring Tails. The console counterpart, for better or worse, has Sonic's birthday party get crashed and Buddy's kidnapped by the Time Eater, giving a bit more oomph to the stakes, whereas the 3DS version gets around this by having Sonic ruck up while Tails is still setting everything up, so no one else actually gets caught up in the whole thing. Another thing on the cutscenes, they're really bad at conveying what's going on. Happy birthday, Sonic! Here's a JPEG of a chili dog. Oh no, Sonic! The JPEG of the monster is gonna get me! Huh? That vaguely Green Hill-shaped JPEG off in the distance looks mighty suspicious. Better go run to the right to take a look. And then we're brought to the main level select screen. Whitespace isn't a hub world that you can freely run around in this version. Instead, it's a menu. Look, I get it. It's a handheld game made for an easy pick up and play experience. It just, I don't know, feels a little underbaked. Outside of all the issues with the cutscenes or the menus, which I could easily argue is a matter of personal preference, especially because it's a 3DS version, one of the standout parts of the original console counterpart was the modern Sonic segments of Generations. The high-speed, boost-style 3D gameplay was a huge reason that it landed itself in my list of my favorite games of all time, and I couldn't wait to get that on my Nintendo 3DS. I mean, 3D Sonic, 3DS, match made in heaven, right? Sonic Generations on the 3DS is a 2D side-scroller, which, okay, look, I know dimps, I know they were the handheld guys at that point, I know all their other games are 2D side-scrollers, but like, when we can get a game like Super Mario 3D Land, is it not at least a teeny tiny bit reasonable to hope for some sort of 3D modern Sonic gameplay? The special stages don't count. Grievances aside though, it's honestly fine. There's a decent amount of difference between classic and modern here where it's acceptable, and dimps would go on to make an actual 3D platformer in Sonic Lost World's 3DS port, which I haven't played, so you know. Modern Sonic here feels like a mix between how he controls in the 2D segments of the console generation stages and a heavier, slightly clunkier version of how he performs in the Sonic Rush games. He's got the boost, which is largely based on the boosts of Unleashed and Generations, but also carries over aspects of Rush's boost system with this temporary infinite boost thing that feels pretty satisfying to obtain and sustain. His levels are fine for a handheld, the level design is inoffensive, I don't know, it's like they're not bad levels, they're just kind of forgettable. Outside of set pieces like the Totem Pole in Green Hill or the Whale in Emerald Coast, the actual moment-to-moment gameplay just kind of smears together into a big, it's not a masterpiece, it's just like a piece, I guess. Once you're in Whitespace, the game's plot plays out pretty similarly to the 2011 console release. Sonic and the gang are after Eggman, but then it turns out that the evil Time Eater JPEG is causing places and enemies from their past to show up, and Tails comes to the conclusion that they're traveling through time and space. That's kinda all you need to know. Sonic also collects Chaos Emeralds throughout the adventure, which leads us to a pretty neat feature that nets the 3DS version, I'd argue, a couple points over the HD version: special stages. Unlike the console version, where Chaos Emeralds are rewarded for completing bosses, Chaos Emeralds in the 3DS version are obtained through actual, real special stages, and I think that's cool. They're pretty similar to the ones from Sonic Heroes, with you running around a big tube, grabbing orbs, and boosting to get ahead, all to nab the emerald that's slowly floating away from you. They're not difficult in any sense of the word, but just the fact we have them is neat. Bosses still play a pretty big role in the progression of the game too, despite its short runtime. There are two types: rival battles and good old-fashioned boss fights. The former have you race against Metal Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, and the latter pit you against Big Arm, the Bio Lizard, and Egg Emperor. They're honestly pretty decent. I would have liked something pertaining to Sonic's handheld history, like gimme Captain Whisker and Johnny from Rush Adventure, just as an example, or like Shady Echidna from Chronicles if we want to cut deep. Speaking of the handhelds, let's look at the level selection that we got here. Much like the console version, the game's levels are split into three distinct eras of the Sonic franchise up to that point: Classic, Adventure, and Modern. Looking at Sonic's handheld history, that feels like a good lineup. You can use the Game Gear titles for the Classic era, the Advanced titles to match the Adventure era, and the Rush series for the Modern era, with maybe Colors DS if you want to stretch it. Alright, give it to me. Give me the level list. We've got Green Hill from Sonic on the Genesis. Casino Night from Sonic 2 on the Genesis. Mushroom Hill from Sonic and Knuckles on the Genesis. Emerald Coast from Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast. Water Palace from Sonic Rush on the DS. This game is awesome. Tropical Resort from Sonic Colors on the DS. Not gonna lie, the level selection here is a little weak, especially for a game that, at least for myself, I was hoping to be a celebration of the games that I grew up on. Water Palace is a pretty cool catch though. Rush was my first Sonic game, this adaptation is pretty faithful, and all around it's a really nice callback to it. Would a Blaze rival battle make more sense than Silver? Probably. Tropical Resort is also based on the DS version, with the Burst Wisp being used that was, at the time, exclusive to the handheld version of Colors, but I don't know, it's not the same. Weirdly though, I feel like this version of the game has a much better final boss than the HD version. It's the same guy, it's Time Eater, with Classic and Modern Eggman at the helm, and the same basic idea, with Classic Super Sonic being a 2D side-scroller and Modern Super Sonic being a 3D segment, but I don't know, it just flows so much better. But beat him, the game ends, and that's it. Oh, also, they gave Classic Sonic the homing attack halfway through, and a lot of his level design relies on it, and as a kid, that decision pissed me off something fierce. But yeah, that's basically the weird other version of Sonic Generations that people don't really talk about. It's definitely interesting looking back on it. Like, I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but also, you know. Do I think this is the best Sonic game ever? No. Do I think this is the best handheld Sonic game ever? Also no. But it's fine. And for a smaller handheld entry, I think it does a decent enough job as a companion piece to the full-fledged HD console version. It certainly would have been nice to have more representation of the handheld entries. It certainly would have been nice to have more stages in general and a longer runtime. But you know what? As far as Sonic games go, this was a pretty decent adventure through a tiny snippet of the first 20 years of the franchise. I would have really liked to see this be playable in some way in Sonic X Shadow Generations purely from a preservation angle. Honestly, don't even bother remaking it in the Hedgehog engine, just give me an up-res port and I would have been happy. At the end of the day though, it did exactly what it promised to do. Take us on an adventure through time and space. Without the time stones?